for which they were established. These questions apply to the executive, to Parliament, to the judiciary, to the national and county governments, to constitutional commissions and independent offices, and to every state and public officer. Ladies and gentlemen, our Constitution performs two equally important principles. First, it restrains power. It shares authority, establishes checks and balances, protects fundamental freedoms, and provides remedies against abuse. Second, it manages power. It commands the state to govern, protect, and provide and progressively realize the social and economic rights of the people. Our responsibility is to uphold both obligations. Power must be managed and rights must be assured. That is why Article 43 is central to any honest assessment of constitutional implementation. It guarantees every person the right to the highest attainable standards of health, accessible and adequate housing, and reasonable standards of sanitation, freedom from hunger, and adequate food of acceptable quality, clean and safe water in adequate quantities, social security, and education. It further declares that no person shall be denied emergency medical treatment and requires the state to provide appropriate social security to persons unable to support themselves and their dependents. These are not ornamental provisions placed in our Constitution. They are fundamental rights. Article 21 requires the state to take legislative, policy, and other measures, including the setting of standards, to achieve the progressive realization of what I have stated. But progressive realization does not mean indefinite postponement. It recognizes that resources are finite, but requires every government to take reasonable, deliberate, concrete, and measurable steps towards fulfilling these rights. Progress must therefore be visible in whether a mother can obtain health care, whenever and whether an emergency patient is treated before being asked for pay, whether a family has clean water, whether a child can attend school, and whether a citizen can afford a decent home, and whether a vulnerable person can live in dignity. To my mind, therefore, the ultimate test of the constitutional implementation is not how often we quote the Constitution or invoke constitutionalism. It is how closely the daily experience of the citizens reflect the promise of the Constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, when this administration sought the mandate of the people in 2022, it was not merely on the basis of campaign rhetoric or political sloganeering. We placed a concrete proposal on the delivery of Article 43 at the center of our national transformation agenda. Universal health care, affordable housing, food security, education, and social protection became central pillars of our national transformation plan. The bottom-up economic transformation agenda was, from the outset, designed as an instrument for the implementation of the Constitution. That is why, over the last 4 years, we have been translating constitutional obligations into practical benefits across healthcare, housing, education, agriculture, and devolution. More than 32 million Kenyan citizens are now registered, with 8 million being treated by Social Health Authority. Over 100,000 community health promoters are servicing households, and the 922 Lifeline is strengthening access to emergency care. More than 274,000 affordable homes are under construction, creating 1.1 million jobs. We have also recruited more than 100,000 teachers and constructed 23,000 classrooms to boost education outcomes, and rolled out a new funding model for our university education. At the same time, agricultural reforms are increasing food production, reducing agricultural inputs, putting more income into farmers' pockets, and strengthening service delivery through county governments. By no means is this work complete. Significant steps remain. Nevertheless, these interventions demonstrate that the promise of our new Constitution is steadily becoming the lived experience of more Kenyans today than was the case before. This same constitutional obligation must now guide the national conversation on Kenya beyond 2030. As we consider the country we want to build beyond the present development horizon, we must not begin, and we will not be beginning, from a barren place. The Constitution has already defined our destination, and that is a democratic, prosperous, equitable, and inclusive republic founded on human dignity, social justice, sustainable development, and the sovereignty of the people. The task before us is to translate that constitutional destination into a coherent national development charter. We must determine how the next generation of growth will deliver the rights guaranteed in the Constitution, how devolution will unlock the potential of every part of Kenya, how innovation, technology, and enterprise will expand opportunity, how economic progress will be reconciled with environmental stewardship, and how Kenya's choices will protect rather than mortgage the future of generations yet to come. Kenya beyond 2030 must therefore be more than a new economic blueprint or a catalogue of projects. It must be a compact between the state and the citizen, between the present and the future, and between our national ambition and our collective responsibility. Let me repeat that. Kenya, beyond 2030, must therefore be more than a new economic blueprint or a catalogue of projects. It must be a compact between the state and the citizens, between the present and the future, and between our national ambition and our collective responsibility. Its success will not only be measured by the size of our economy, the height of our buildings, or the reach of our infrastructure. It will be measured by the dignity, opportunity, security, and quality of life enjoyed by every citizen. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings me and us to another consequential question of accountability in our constitutional democracy. What is the place of an electoral mandate within a constitutional order? Political parties present manifestos to the people. Citizens consider competing visions and elect a government. That mandate carries democratic legitimacy and imposes a responsibility on leaders to keep their word and deliver on their promise. The ballot gives the mandate. The Constitution establishes the boundaries. The public institutions ensure that both are respected. How much constitutional space must an elected government have to implement the program upon which it was elected? When that program is challenged, how should courts distinguish between reviewing constitutionality and making policy choices constitutionally entrusted to elected institutions? When a court finds that a policy violates